Yo, what up, everybody? BQ and TW here with another edition of the Cool Factor podcast here at the Impact Lounge. We didn't bring you a show last week, so I'm not going to say we're going to double up this week, but we're going to talk a little bit about last week's Impact, a little bit about this week's Impact, and then just kind of talk about the state of Impact 2 episodes after Bound for Glory. Where the storylines are going. Is it good? Is it bad? And just kind of, we're really just going to kind of spitball and shoot back and forth and just really talk Impact. That's clearly what it is. It's not really a format of we're going to review these shows. We're really just going to chat Impact here, and hopefully you guys dig it. And we're gonna jump right into it just like we always do. So, TW, first thing I want to talk about here. EC3 is I'm sure you caught that news that he's rumored to just be done with Impact. Like we thought this was a possibility that he was just there for Bound for Glory and he's out. It's rumored he's going to do Ring of Honor through the rest of the year. And I'm going to talk about after this Ring of Honor real quick. I watched an episode the other day for the first time in years. I want to compare it a little bit to Impact a little bit, but so what do you think about this, man? Is this what you expected was going to happen with EC3? Like, I think we both got that vibe that he was there for Bound for Glory. It didn't feel like he was, back in any way, shape, or form.
Right. So, I mean, I figured pretty early on, right, as we saw the way they were using him on TV with the segments and the not a lot of in-ring stuff, that this wasn't going to be something where he was going to be wrestling every week. And I loved it. Because, with the state of Impact's production right now, seeing weeks of people wrestling in front of no fans doesn't really do a whole lot to build the anticipation for a match. However, doing the different skits and the story did a great job of building the anticipation between Moose and EC3 for their match at Bound for Glory. And I have to say this, I've been meaning to say this. I want to give total credit to EC3 because I'm a believer that he had a big part in the creative of this, because this really whole thing followed along the storyline of the whole, reinventing himself, controlling your narrative type thing. And he used that buzz and that platform to elevate Moose. And so I give EC3 huge credit for that, because I think so many people in the wrestling business have a reputation of just being, quote unquote, marks for themselves and just trying to, get themselves over. And, listen, you want to talk about changing your narrative. If you are coming into an organization where you made your name and you're coming back with a buzz and you're using that buzz to elevate the brand and elevate somebody else within it, you really are changing your narrative. And that changes the way that I look at it. I'm not going to lie. That completely changes the way I look at EC3, because that shows me that you're somebody who's trying to make the business better, right? Make it better for us, the fans, right? By making more interesting people, by making the show more interesting. My whole beef that I had with it, my hesitation with it was, Moose they have been building up all this equity in Moose. I think Moose has either seen or heard some of our chats we've had for the past couple of months, because he came out on TV this week and was saying a lot of stuff that I've been saying, which is that he hasn't lost on pay-per-view in probably 2 years. He's, they've been throwing, every time they get a legend, they don't know to do it, they put him in there with Moose.
Yeah,
Moose
I was thinking the same thing. It was what we talked about. Yeah.
Right. And but he's been winning, right? And so that's a lot of equity to have built up. And I thought they were using all that just to try to make EC3 hot again, so they could try to convince him to come back and try to be the Impact champion. And, again, kudos to everybody involved. Kudos. I'm not saying that Impact didn't try to sell that to EC3, but kudos to EC3 for saying, nah, man, look, I'm here for a one shot, and this is what we're going to do. You leave the place better than you found it. And so I give EC3 huge credit. I give, Impact huge credit. And of course I give Moose big credit, because it came out better than I could have expected.
And before someone gets in the YouTube comments like Moose doesn't listen to you guys, like Moose has said he does, so calm your tits. Yeah, you could definitely argue that Moose has the left Bound for Glory, I think, with the most momentum. Like, and definitely the question was there, what's next for Moose? You know, I didn't necessarily say, oh, Rich Swann won the title, what's next for Rich Swann? I didn't really look at it that way. I probably said what's next for Deonna and Sue. But Moose, I think, really left with a good deal of momentum out of there. And I can't wait to see what they're doing with it. It seems like there's definitely a collision course, as we talked about with Rich Swann, and that's the natural progression in all this. Like Moose has done all this other shit for a long time now. Everything he's delivering is gold. I mean, ever since he made this heel turn, and he started, you know, like 1 week come out with the dashiki and the, you know, when he's changing his outfits every week, just ever since then, like he has not missed a beat. We get on here and we're like, hey, we liked Eddie Edwards this week. We didn't like him last week. We like Sammy this week. I'm just throwing names out there, but Moose is like consistent, great character and doing good work.
By the way, I love the daishikis. I want him. Yes. I wish he would bring that back. To me, that was his most fun look. Like I know that it does kind of go a little bit into what EC3 was kind of saying about him, which is that his character is, you know, just his version of his favorite wrestlers growing up, which is, I would argue, most people, and that's honestly my problem with most wrestlers today, but I digress.
Yeah.
But I thought like when he was doing like the daishikis and stuff like that, to me, that was the most original look he had, and I loved it. I thought it was really good. So, you know, I'm very interested to see where he's going next. But yeah, man, I love that look. I thought that was a good look. It just reminds me, the first thing I think of is that Bound for Glory 2017 or 2018, when Taya was outside the ring and she got drop kicked or something, and you just see Moose in the background going. I just laughing at that, like, oh man.
You know what was funny too was the dynamic of him and Cross.
Yeah.
Killer Cross was like, they'd be side to side in the ring. Cross is dead serious, and Moose is just standing there.
Right.
With this big old like cheesy smile and those glasses, dude. Like, I thought that was so hilarious, man.
Yeah, it was a good dynamic. It was a good dynamic. It definitely was like, you know, they were a good kind of contrast for each other.
So talking about momentum, I'm gonna kind of, I was gonna talk about this a little bit later, but I think it's a good time right now. Brian Myers is a guy we like. I will argue he had some momentum coming out of Bound for Glory because he eliminated 5 guys or whatever. He looked good. And then last week gets a gimmick Halloween match against Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah.
So I'm watching this match. So as soon as I saw this graphic, I was like, oh my God, no. And then I'm watching the match, and I will tell you, I enjoyed 99% of it. I was like, man, it's as silly as some of this is. It's not silly at the same time. Like they weren't, you know, Brian Myers wasn't wearing a pumpkin on his head, and you know, like they would do on, you know, SmackDown and shit like that. You know what I mean? So I thought it was still, and I mean, I've been done with the Tommy Dreamer hardcore matches forever now, but I still thought it was good. Like I enjoyed the match, and I was thinking to myself, like, man, they're gonna give Brian Myers this win here, beat Tommy Dreamer at his own game, cool. And then I see Swoggle come out of the trash can, and it just turned around all of a sudden, and then Dreamer gets the win. And I was like, man, you had someone get these multiple eliminations at Bound for Glory. He looked good. And then he shows up and takes this unnecessary loss, I think, to Dreamer. You know, Swoggle's involved. It gets really silly and stupid just at the very end. Like it was fine up to that point. And now at turning point, he's going to wrestle Swoggle. I saw the graphic before I saw Impact. And this past one, and I was like, what a step backwards, because either he's going to lose or it's going to be a competitive match when it shouldn't be. I was like, I can see Swoggle crawling under his legs, biting his feet,
Right.
through the boots that you can feel. But then I saw the episode of Impact, and Swoggle was actually delivered kind of serious. Like he was given the backstage interview with the fucking background music that I can't stand,
Right.
and uh, he came across serious, and he said, "Well, I'm a wrestler now," so now I'm a little intrigued. I'm like, are they going to try to paint Swoggle as like a serious competitor? Like now I'm actually kind of interested to see if that's what they try to do. My TV just randomly turned on here.
Oh shit! Don't you hate when your house gets possessed during a
Yeah,
podcast?
it just turned on in the Roku. Anyway, I'll just let that finish up. So I'm a little more. I'm not as down on the match as I was, but I feel like there's a little bit of a step backwards with him.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think of that? Like he had the match with Dreamer, now he's a feud with Swoggle. Like that just doesn't scream I'm the most impressive person in the gauntlet, and now I'm doing this.
Well, so I think that they see what we see in Brian Myers. I think they see potential there as somebody who can be featured more. But I also think you got to kind of work your way up, just like Moose, right? Like, you gotta do the Tommy Dreamer feud, and you gotta do the Ken Shamrock feud, and you gotta do, you know what I mean? Like before you get to Eddie Edwards, who's going to work you in some good matches. But so the thing is, like, they got their main event scene right now. They got Swan, right? And right now Swan is gonna go through Sammy and Shamrock, right? And then we believe Moose is on the way to meet him after he goes through Willie Mack, right? So that top is kind of set for now for the next foreseeable future. So you need somebody to, and by the way, it's still very early in Brian Myers' time and Impact. So if excuse me, if he winds up in like the main event scene right now, you're gonna get complaints of, oh, you're hot shot and WWE guy. No, let's prevent that. Have him put in the work on the undercard. Have him do some stuff. And listen, everybody can't be an undefeated gimmick. You know what I mean? Everybody shouldn't be this guy's on a 100-match win streak, and you know what I mean, like that, because that will get really old. So listen, have him do the thing with Swoggle and Dreamer, and do something, and then have him work Jake something, and like excuse me. There's a lot of stuff you can do, but I think that for him, they're really just trying to have him kind of fill time right now. I think there's bigger things in the future, but you got to do something with this undercard stuff before we put you in more of a feature spot. Like you got to earn that feature spot. You know what I mean? You got to do some stuff that's got to get you some buzz. And think about it. Moose challenged Austin Aries for the Impact World Championship. What was that, 2017? It's taken him 3 years to get back to the top of the card. So, and honestly, we can say what we want, but a lot of that is earning the trust of the people at the top. The way they built Moose for that match with Austin Aries, that's the kind of build where the person usually wins the world championship.
Right.
But again, people can say what they want. They didn't, if they believed in him, they would have given him the title because the build was there. The build was there for him to be your champion, but they didn't believe in him. And like I said, it's taken him 3 years to get back to what looks like a feature spot. And so it takes time to work your way up. And so if you're Brian Myers, you had a good showing in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. You just got to keep because you got to Brian Myers needs to change his perception. You know what I mean? Where fans will come to see Impact and be like, "Oh, that's the old whatever his name was." Right. And you know what I mean? And Impact fans are like, no. He got receipts. He got this match. You got to go look up this match. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? And so he's got to build that. It takes time to build that. So I'm not ready to do the Brian Myers deserves better yet. You know what I mean? I'm not ready to do that. You still got to earn your way up.
You said something here where you said everyone can't be on an undefeated streak. And I agree with that. But at the same time, nobody's hot in my opinion. So I wouldn't say Impact does 50-50 booking because they don't. I don't think that they do. But they do something similar to when 50-50, we're talking about 1 week this guy wrestles this dude, then he beats him, and then the next week he beats the other guy, and then there's a rubber match. For the most part, Impact doesn't do that. They've done it more so in the last year or so than they have a history of doing, but at the same time, every time Trey Miguel wins a match, he loses the next one. They're different opponents.
Right.
I'll say that about, I don't know if TJP, I can't say if TJP's lost any matches recently, with the exception of maybe Bound for Glory.
Yeah.
But I guess my point is, I just don't feel like anyone's on this like hot streak where you're just like, oh man, they're really, they're working their way up. It just seems like every time someone gets a win, they get a loss the next week. And, whereas I was watching the Chris Bay, Trey Miguel match, I was like, I don't care who wins this match. Both of them lost a couple weeks ago. Like, okay, cool. One of them is going to get a win. And then, so Chris Bay wins. He's probably going to lose the next time he wrestles someone. Like, I just don't feel like there's anyone's got any just momentum. I know I keep throwing that word out there, but I just don't see any kind of momentum for anybody.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And listen, in order to create momentum, you have to create buzz, right? Because somebody has to win something that you care about. That's how you create momentum, right? Like somebody's got to win something that you care about. Like somebody has to get. God, I almost for a second was like, who even won that damn call your shot thing? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
People have to start winning something that you care about. And the best way to win something that you care about is you got to have people, you got to have characters that fans want to see lose or want to see win. And then the person that beats them becomes the new person that you care about. In theory, that's how it should work, right? But that also says the Impact does not have a lot of people that the fans just care, what's happening to them. You know what I'm saying? And so, so look, Impact has a lot of work to do. They got a lot of work to do as far as getting people hot, because that's what it all comes down to, is who's hot and, who's hot, who's not. Tell me who rock, who sell out in the store. Tell me who caught the blue.
That 1997 Mace right there. So you mentioned something to me that you feel that there's been pretty good, clear storyline resets after Bound for Glory. Sometimes they're good about that, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes we have a pay-per-view. Hypothetically, you should have a pay-per-view, and the feuds are kind of squashed, and then you move on. And then sometimes they find a way to keep them going. So talk to me about this a little bit, because I don't know that we're in total agreement on it.
Okay.
But you
all right, so
storylines are going.
So that was a good tee up for a question, but I have to take one little detour before we get into this. So just remember that question. We're gonna come right back to it. I just want to say, Kylie Rae, my thoughts and my thoughts and positive vibes are with you. If you guys listen to the show, the pre Bound for Glory show we did, that I was as hyped as anybody for that Kylie Rae Deonna Purrazzo match. I was really, really looking forward to it. I thought it was, a big moment in both of their careers. Kylie Rae has to be one of the hottest names on the independent scene right now out of anyone. She had, so much momentum. I was excited that this match was happening in Impact. It was, a match between two, good wrestlers who are hot right now. And that's the type of thing Impact, really needs. It was a big match in every way possible, except for, the idea that it wasn't in front of a hot crowd who would have loved it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And the fact that going into a match like that, which you could argue is probably the biggest match of her career thus far.
Yeah.
And, for it to look like she no-showed the event, and then to them to not even really have kind of a story, kind of writing her off, just kind of like, to me, that's what told me that there was something wrong here, because they didn't do like an injury angle, like she's jumped in the back and can't compete. You know what I mean? Like
Which
if this
I'm
was
glad because they've done
if
way
this
too
was
much.
wrestling, it would have been like, you know, she's injured in the back, she can't wrestle. Su Yung will take her place, and then there's the mystery of who beat up Kylie Ray, right? You know what I mean? And then leading back to Kylie Ray versus Su Yung or something like that. But no, but you know, everything about this to me said this was something real. And you know, if you've paid attention to Kylie Ray, you know, she's talked openly about her, you know, mental health struggles. And you know, I'm not a doctor, I'm not gonna try to diagnose anything. I'm just here to empathize. And just to say that, you know, if anybody out there knows anybody that you think is struggling with mental health issues, they could be anything, right? They could be depression, they could be suicidal thoughts, they could be, you know, it could be something, you know, body dysmorphia, it could be all types of things. You don't know what that person is going through. That doesn't make them weak. You know what I mean? Like I can't um comprehend what it's like to have my brain beating me up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you know, I'm fat, but I don't look in the mirror and hate myself. You know what I'm saying? Like you know, some people that we see on television that we think are the most beautiful people in the world, they look in the mirror and hate what they see.
Right.
So you never know the battle that another person is fighting. So empathize with people. You know, sometimes it's good to, you know, when you hear a story, don't take it for what you see. If somebody is telling you they have a problem, believe them. And yeah, like I said, just try to empathize, man. Like even if you can't relate to it, if you don't know, just because something hasn't happened to you doesn't mean that it's not real. And so, you know, if Kylie Ray hears this, or if anybody who knows Kylie Ray hears it and pass it along, just know that, you know what I mean, there's a lot of love and support out there for you. You know, get yourself healthy and live your life. You know, fuck wrestling. You know what I'm saying? You got to live a healthy life. And so, and that's for anybody else who's listening to this who might be feeling anything. You know, like you are loved. People love you. People love you. You know what I mean? And you have value to the world. And so, you know, that's that. Did you want to add anything there before we get back to this?
Yeah, I talked a lot about it on YouTube already, so I'm not going to go off on too much of a tangent. But the social media world is a mean place. I read something that people were giving her a hard time about her body, and I'm like, her of all.
That's wild. That's so wild. You know, and I saw her, you know, a while ago. I don't know if you saw this. Like she posted like on Twitter, you know, like should I get a boob job or not? Which I thought was interesting, right? Because I was like, you know, first of all, like, you know, she's in God probably a top 1 or 2% of like fitness.
Right,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
right.
She's in fantastic shape. As a matter of fact, that was one of the first things I noticed about her when I saw her wrestling. In fact, I was like, yo, this woman is in, like, this is an athlete.
Yeah,
I was like,
right.
this woman, she looks like an athlete. And honestly, too many wrestlers that I see don't look like athletes. You know what I'm saying? Right? Like I could just start rattling off names of wrestlers that people love that don't look like athletes at all. Yeah. And she looks like a phenomenal athlete. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, but anyway, as you were saying.
Man. But, you know, the social media world, it's, I don't tweet a whole lot anymore. Not that I really care, but I have people who follow me just to talk shit. Yeah. I have people who don't follow me, but get on my tweets to talk shit. I find it more kind of funny. I'm just like, how sad these people are. You know, someone recently told me hurt people try to hurt people, you know, and that's usually what it boils down to. So I don't take offense to, you know, what people try to say about me.
Yeah.
But not everyone can take that information that people give them when they talk shit about them physically or anything. Not everyone can handle that the same.
Yeah.
And the Twitter world is damn toxic. I mean, whew. In the wrestling world, wrestling fans are. We have a lot of really good wrestling fans that listen to our podcast and everything, but there's some out there. There's that joke that goes around about wrestling fans living in their mom's basement and this, and there's truth to that. I mean, people who really aren't, and it's the wrestling world. It's
not
really
the people who listen to this podcast though. Y'all are some fine, upstanding citizens. I bet you make a lot of money, and you probably all date models.
Yeah, I would. I'm not directing anyone that listens to us, watches what we do, but I'm just saying, like, there are people who just sit at home all day, have nothing going for themselves, and I'm just gonna get online and put other people down.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. But yeah, we wish her the best, and to kind of transition into something else real quick, and before we go back to our topic. You got to give Impact props because they had storylines that bailed them out of two situations of Bound for Glory. One was that Rhino or Heath could win the match.
Yeah,
Heath got hurt and bailed.
That is dumb luck, man.
Dumb luck,
luck.
And then the other is the Kylie Ray thing with Su Yung and Susie. So it made sense. Like if they weren't doing this whole knockouts tag team angle where everyone was paired up and there was just a regular division and she didn't show, who the hell were they going to bring out there?
Right.
Think about Bound for Glory when they brought out because I believe when Eli Drake did the open challenge, the rumor was Joey Janela was supposed to answer it, and he got hurt. So who the James Ellsworth. You know what I mean? So what would they have done this time around? Bound for Glory, same thing. Someone doesn't show up. What would they pull out of their ass? They really got bailed out with the storyline. So I want to say props to them because it wasn't like they were did it on purpose, but they
right. But hey, look, they say, you make your own luck, right? You know what I mean? They say that it turns out that the lucky person always happens to be the one who works the hardest. You know what I mean? Right. So look, lucky for them, they had storylines that had some sort of continuity built in. And now what have happened if Rhino bust up his leg and Heath got hurt, right? Then I'm like, oh, shit. So
and you can even look at Alex Shelley was hurt, so they couldn't compete. Like, what if it was the Machine Guns against somebody,
right?
So it kind of makes me look at all the matches. I'm like, I'm trying to look back at the storylines. I'm like, do they have backup plans for everyone now? Like, maybe they do on purpose.
I think that'd be a very interesting way of writing TV. I think right, because you have to write everything like one of those make your own adventure books. Right?
So, showing our age there big time, but
I think they just deal with these things as they come. You know what I mean? I'm not giving these guys that much credit.
Right. So let's go back to what we were saying.
All right.
You're happy with where the storylines have reset.
Yes. So I think this kind of on like an overall perspective, right? Like coming out of Bound for Glory, we had our biggest stories, and right out of the gate, right? They hot shot it, the EY Rich Swann rematch. Why? Because now you get that off the table. And by the way, watching it, I thought Rich Swann was going to lose. I was like, you dumb baby face, right? Like,
right.
Like Solomon Monster always says, dumb baby face syndrome. But like, yes, man, like baby faces do dumb things. Like, I'm going to take this rematch, even though the bad guy just jumped me in the back and ran me over with a cement truck, but I'm going to limp out to the ring and force the ref to ring the bell. Right.
Yeah.
So, but he won. And, what that effectively did was allowed us to move on from the Eric Young storyline. And then they set it up to where, as we previously talked about, we see kind of potentially the next 3 challengers for Rich Swann and potentially the next challenger for Moose. So, I thought that was really cool because you answered 2 big questions coming right out, right? You know what I mean? Like, you could argue with the absence of the Knockouts title match that we were expecting, that the 2 biggest stories coming out of Bound for Glory was what does Moose do next? And after getting a high profile win, and what does Rich Swann do next? And so now it kind of appears that those two were on a collision course. And so they did a great job just getting right to resetting that, you know what I mean? Resetting those storylines, saying, okay, the Bound for Glory stuff is over. We're going in this direction now. I just thought that was just an example of really good storytelling.
Dude, I thought the EY and Rich Swann match was bullshit just because it was so quick.
Yeah.
And Rich Swann wrestled in his bare feet and pretty quickly beat the guy who was this, maniac world champion just a couple nights ago. So I'm sure there was a story there that they were telling where, they thought maybe it would get some sympathy on Swann.
It's that Rich Swann's feet smell terrible.
Yeah.
And it just took all the strength out of EY.
Right. It had to be what it was. But it was like the finish was a little flat for me. I've been meaning to say, dude, that Bound for Glory, I like the Su Yung match and Deanna, but that finish was so flat. Oh my God. But anyway, let me not rabbit trail. So I don't know, man. It didn't really do much for me, but I got to put this question out there. I'm like Josh Matthews. Would you say that I love that Madison the other day said, Josh, stop asking so many stupid questions and call the action. Like, yes, exactly. Just call the action. I was going to bring up a Ring of Honor thing here. So that reminds me, but I'll bring it up in a sec after we talk about this. But it does pose the question to me. Should they just get rid of the mandatory rematch? Because now they're just throwing him out there. And I know what you said. They got him out of the way. But at the same time, they're just getting him out of the way. Like, it's not that I want to see them feud that much longer. But to just say, okay, here was your Bound for Glory main event. Now we're just going to give it to you one more time real quick. But the match is going to be half the time. This guy's going to be in his feet and find a way to win. And then they gave us the Su Yung and Deanna match really quick. It just seems like, and now they're rematching next week again. It's just like they're just like, here, let's get it out of the way so we can. And if you think of I know people don't like us talking about AEW, but they don't have, I don't believe, that rematch clause, because I can't think of any of their champions getting a rematch.
Well, I also can barely think of any of their titles changing hands. Like, their titles haven't changed hands that often.
They don't.
The tag title changed hands recently, and I don't remember them doing a rematch of that because they went straight to the Hangman and the breakup.
Jericho didn't get a rematch when he lost his title.
Right. There's who Jericho?
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't get a rematch? Yeah, so maybe that's not a thing with them.
I don't think it is. Cody got it back, but he's also like the Triple H of that company. And
right.
Nyla Rose.
I see it now.
Nyla Rose is wrestling again for the title tomorrow, but she lost it a while ago, and she actually
they don't have any women, man. And I don't mean that with any disrespect, but like, they don't have any women's matches you really want to see. They don't. I mean, like you can't name, like, so for example, right? I'd be interested in seeing Tasha Steelz go against anybody because her character's so good. I bet you she could build us a really good story if you give her a month, right? She could create a match we really want to see. Taya, I love Taya. You know what I mean? I think Taya, she can work babyface, she can work heel. You know what I mean? Taya can do so much. Havoc, you know what I mean? She's your monster type. Impact has a lot of women that you like to see. You know what I mean? Like Deonna Purrazzo is building a great reputation as just like an amazing worker.
Yeah. You definitely
and so, so just right there, what was that? 4 or 5 women I just named that I feel like I just in general like seeing them. And so then you put a story on them. You know what I mean? Like, boom, you got some good matches. Now, conversely, right? Since we were talking about AEW, I like Big Swole. I like the match that Big Swole had with Nyla Rose like months ago. Big Swole had a match with Nyla Rose, and I was like, she's like a legitimate, comparison to Nyla Rose. Like, she's like, she can hang with her in terms of like, speed and strength and stuff like that. That made her really interesting to me. But since then, they haven't given her a whole lot. They put her in a program with Britt, they put her in a program with Britt Baker but you know what I mean? Like we all know how they feel about Britt Baker. So I thought Big Swole was going to lose that, and I thought that was just going to be terrible. But Big Swole won against Britt Baker, and then they gave her a throwaway match with Sheeta that, you know what I mean? She lost and didn't come out of it looking better for it. You know what I mean? So like, I don't feel like, I'm not saying their women's division is terrible. I'm just saying that they don't have a whole lot of women that I really am just like, yo, I really want to see this person go. Like, I love Britt Baker's segment. She's so much fun to watch. But that's really it. Like I said, like I like Big Swole. She's really funny. And she's a good wrestler, but I'm not like, again, we already saw Big Swole and Britt Baker. We saw that already.
I like Britt and Anna Jay quite a bit, but to your point, I feel like when we watch the knockouts, I'm happy with whatever combination of them we get. I'm usually pretty into the match.
I think that the thing that's interesting about the knockouts, they have a lot of women who can really wrestle, but Impact is not like a wrestling. The wrestling is not the attraction with Impact, right? Like Impact likes to build stories. They like to build stories to the match, which I love. You know what I mean? And also I think having the absence of fans, a match based around a story that's been well built is something. It's a necessity, honestly. But I look at that roster, all those people we just named, and like, yo, I was really excited about the idea of like Kylie Ray and Taya having these amazing matches, and they didn't do any of that with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They did silly crap with
Wrestle
them.
house shit, yeah.
Yeah. And so Impact's not like a, come watch these women work type deal, but they have women that look like they can work,
Yeah.
That's just not how they present.
So we'll take that as a transition into the Knockouts tag team, but I do want to make a point. I brought this up. I watched Ring of Honor a couple days ago for the first time in a long time. I stopped watching because I got fatigued as a viewer.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of super finish. I was watching a pay-per-view. Every match was balls to the wall from the first one to the end, of near falls and heels playing to the crowd instead of trying to get heat. And
Did they have a crowd?
No, this was years ago.
Okay.
So I was so fatigued watching this pay-per-view, and I said, I don't want to watch this company anymore. Like, I don't have that in me for every single match.
Yeah.
For people flipping all over, kicking out 50 times a match. So I stopped watching.
About NXT takeovers.
What's that? That's what they do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, I can't do that. And AEW does do some of that, usually with the tag division. But my point was, I stopped watching them. I watched this show the other day, and I forgot they had an empty arena like Impact does. The difference was, the minor difference was that the audio quality was much improved for Ring of Honor. It used to sound like they were talking on $15 Radio Shack headsets.
Yeah.
But where like Impact sounds very hollow in there, like when Penzer is, coming to the ring, it sounds like it's very hollow. There's not a lot of sound discipline in there. To where Ring of Honor it sounded very tight. But my main point was that the commentary was so laser focused on the action and making every move matter. There wasn't side convos. There wasn't them trying to be funny. They were just calling what we saw, and it was just laser focus on the action, to where I'm watching these matches and I forgot there wasn't a crowd, to where I kind of watch Impact and I'm just like, dude, I feel that there's no crowd there. It's
yeah.
And that's why I
want to watch. Now, I've never been a Ring of Honor fan. The only time I ever watched Ring of Honor was for those couple of months that they were the lead-in to Impact on Destination America. And I watched a few episodes of Ring of Honor then. That's the only time I've ever watched it. And I just was not a huge fan of it. I just was not. It's funny. It's ironic because the thing that made me not a fan of Ring of Honor was that it just looked so indie. I was like,
Yeah.
you guys, you're not even trying to look big
It
time.
looks like
And now
shit.
that's exactly what Impact looks like. But I remember that no selling, you know what I mean, super fast paced style. I didn't like it. I was not a fan.
There's
I
a
remember
time
I specifically searched out Cody Rhodes when he won the Ring of Honor World Title. I wanted to see it, and it was just that he was working that Ring of Honor style, and I was like, man, this ain't for me, man. I just don't like it.
Yeah. It's like AEW does it to an extent, but it's not the whole show. There are matches that I think they pace it better, where Ring of Honor just didn't pace their shows. It was just this the whole time. I was like, dude, I can't. I would watch their shows and I would have a headache. But I do feel like what I saw this past week was a really improved product, but it just showed that commentary matters. Like, there's a time and place in your show for humor, but I think there's a lot of humor on Impact right now. And I don't mean like good humor, but I feel like almost every single angle, there's some degree of silliness. And there's some guys that I don't know if they're going to be able to get it back here soon. I guess it works for the Deaners a little, but like, Triple XL, some of these guys involved in the Bravo stuff, we'll get to that in a little bit. I don't know that they're going to be able to come back from it.
You can always come back. Listen, you can like, in a perfect example, Rohit. Look at Rohit, right? Because I did a damn soliloquy, I believe, on this very show about how dare they, just drop Rohit in front of us and expect us to take him serious all of a sudden. And look, man, it takes time, but you can get it's wrestling, it's TV.
You can make anything happen. Yeah.
Bear hug or a clothesline or a punch. You know what I mean? You can get over anything. The same way that they bastardized the super kick, like in WWE, Sheamus still beats people with his damn brogue kick. You know what I mean? James Storm still beats people with his super kick. You know what I mean? If you can get anything over if you just protect it right.
True.
So they can do all this silly shit with the Deaners and Triple XL. All it takes is for us to see them doing something different for a few weeks, and we'll be into it. Now listen, again, the more damaged the person is, the more damaged the character is, the longer it's going to take to change that perception of them. But it's possible, it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, you got right now. You're trying to build something with Larry D and the Machine Guns, even though one of them's hurt. Or a Triple XL in the Motor City Machine Guns, but then you have Larry D holding, you got a mugshot for Who Shot Bravo. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But so I said I want to talk about the knockouts, the tag team situation. I wanted to see a good tournament. That's all I care about. You kind of brought up storylines and everything. I feel that there's some fuckery that's going to happen here pretty soon. And we talked about this offline first. And I was really happy when Alicia teamed up with Jordynne Grace, because I've been saying they have to give Alicia something to do. No, she's not the world's best wrestler, the best talker. I'm not saying put the Knockouts Championship on her, but you have to give people meaningful things to do if we're going to take them serious. And she's either Eddie's wife or she's a jobber. Like, there's never been a meaningful feud, nothing. A program right now, she's Who Shot Bravo.
Right.
So when they put her in this tag team, I was like, dude, I'm glad they're pairing up with Jordynne Grace. Maybe they'll get some wins, and maybe she'll get, she might not get the pin, but at least, she might get a couple wins under her belt here, and maybe we can start doing something with her. And then just half a year ago, they were best friends on screen. Alicia was going to be on her lockdown team.
Mm-hmm.
They were like homegirls. And now all of a sudden they have this match. They team up one time together, and Alicia, who again, they've given nothing meaningful to, all of a sudden is this like, has this attitude, and they're not getting along in the ring. Like, I mean, completely pulled it out of left field. We always talk about bumping in each other backstage, and that's causing a feud. That was happening in this ring, in this match. And there's not that many knockouts. Like, just pick your teams and let's have a good tournament. Because I feel like with the women, they can, as I said a little while ago, I'm interested in anything they do. To where the men, I probably want to see a little more story. Like Chris Bay was wrestling Trey Miguel. I was kind of working at the same time. So the match was next to me. It wasn't until the match was over that I realized Chris Bay was fighting Trey Miguel and not TJP. Like
Mm,
I guess my point is there's a lot of wrestlers to me in the men's side that they just blend together. Like I'm just like
yeah.
you know what I mean? I talked about momentum earlier. Like there's a lot of guys that just blend to me, but the knockouts, I don't feel that with. Like, I don't
Mm,
feel like you have to do all this fuckery and everything. And now I'm watching this episode. I love Tennille and Madison together. I love that pairing. Love
mm.
it. My gut tells me that these two are going to fight next week, just like Alicia and Jordan did. And then they're going to
Mm.
put them together. And if they do that, I think that's telegraphing that they're going to win the tournament. So that's where I'm starting to get kind of pissed off. I'm hoping that's not what happens. I hope just Tennille and Madison click. Why they had to have Jordan and Alicia not get along, I don't know. But I would rather just make the Jordan and Alicia team, get them some momentum, get your teams established, get them momentum. The tournament starts in 2 weeks, and we still have a lot of questions. And to me, there's just, I think you like the fact there's some story. For me, it's too much. Like I just want to see a freaking tournament. I don't want all the Tom fuckery going on.
Yeah, so I actually do agree with you. I do like story, but a tournament is its own story. It's its own compelling story. And honestly, I think that doing a tag team tournament, a tag team title tournament, gives you a chance to tell a whole different style of story for a few weeks. You can take each team, you can do profile pieces on them, explain to us why we should root for this team, and just give us a real almost like sports competition style. You don't have to write any elaborate storylines. You can just give us teams that have a story for why they both want to win, put them in the ring and let the story play out in the ring, and then we can feel the thrill of victory and agony of defeat for each and every team. And like I said, I think that actually does write itself. I don't think you got to go with the crazy silly storylines, but that's exactly what's happening, right?
Right.
Like, we can see already that the story is going to be, can Jordan Grace find a partner, right? Can Jordan Grace find a partner? And she will find a partner, and she'll end up in like the finals against whoever the heel team is that's going to eventually win.
Because when you have these bullshit side story, I say bullshit just because, again, I don't think tournaments need stories. I'm bringing up another AEW reference. So I'm sorry, people, but they just had a tournament. Everybody who knew anything about wrestling knew that Paige and Omega were going to be in the finals of this thing because they're the only two they were building any kind of like side story with, and everyone else was just there to wrestle. So it was just so clear who it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I hate that out of tournaments, man. Like I want to watch this tournament and say, dude, is Tasha Steelz and Kiera going to win, or is it going to be Rosemary? Like I'm really curious who is going to be there. But if they start doing all these like side stories,
right,
I feel like even though they're probably not trying to, I feel like it just tells us who's going to win at the end.
Yeah.
At least they're going to be in the final. If these two pair up, they're going to be in the finals at a minimum.
Yeah.
Or even the fact that they're doing this story at all means one of them is going to be in the finals. True. Or if Tennille and Madison stay together, they're probably going to be in the finals against Jordan and whoever. Like they're giving all this away, in my opinion, right away. So I hope that I'm wrong when Hard to Kill rolls around and it's Kiera and Tasha against Taya and Rosemary. Maybe that's what happens. But I just feel like Tennille and Jordan Grace, in one way, shape, or form, are heading toward the finals, whether it's against each other or together. And it's, to me, they're giving away too much. Like I just want to see the girls wrestle. I don't want, shock me.
And again, similar to what I said, you got enough women who are good wrestlers where you can just put them out there and let them tell the stories through the wrestling. And I would be very interested in that, As a matter of fact, in terms of having variety on your show, that'd be a nice way to add some natural variety to your show, because tag team wrestling is naturally built to be, fast paced, quick switch, false finish. Like all that stuff is naturally built into tag team wrestling. So just let the matches tell the story. Like don't overthink it. Don't overdo it.
Right. Now I know that contradicts what I've been saying about the men, but for me, I needed a little story there. They were like the match of Bound for Glory. They basically were doing what you're saying right now. We're just going to let the match tell the story. But I just felt like that the caliber of teams in that deserved some kind of build. I just think the women and men are a little different.
Letting the match tell the story is still, in a tournament, is still building to the match. Not just let's just put guys in here.
Okay. Yeah.
And they kind of tried to tell a story, but they never went all the way. You know what I mean? Like they tried to tell a story of, 4 teams that all wanted to get at each other, and this just had to come all together for the match. But they didn't do a great job of it because it didn't feel that way. You know what I mean? In a tournament, though, you don't start off with this guy has a grudge against this guy. You start with, no, this is why this is important to me. This is why this is important to me. Then they have a match and, oh God, who's going to win? And then one person wins, one person loses. And then whatever, then you move on to the next thing. The story just naturally, you take a liking to somebody or whatever, or you don't. And again, that's how you just let the story tell itself. But they're just trying to manufacture too much other stuff, with some of these stories. And then in the case of those 4 tag teams in the match of Bound for Glory, there was really no story,
So let's talk the state of we'll kind of stay on the knockouts topic, the state of the knockouts championship here. So we're getting Deonna versus Sue here pretty soon. Do you feel like we're getting too much of that because this is going to be the 3rd match in 3 weeks between the two?
Another one next week?
Yeah, well, the Turning Point show.
Oh,
the no disqualification, because they gave us that.
Well, my hope is that this is Deonna's exit into out of this feud into the tag team picture with Kimberly.
Yeah,
that's the best we can hope for here because, I don't know, man. I don't know. The Su Yung thing doesn't do much for me.
Really?
I don't know. Like, I think it's just like as a wrestler, Su Young's not that exciting to me. Like I haven't been like, yo, I can't wait to see this Su Yung match. You know what I mean? I just haven't seen it. I
really, really like her. So
yeah, I mean, like as a person or as a wrestler?
No, I mean, I just her. I don't know her as a person, but she does follow me on Twitter, though.
I mean, I listen. I'm not like I don't have to like turn the channel when she comes on. Like I don't feel like that. But again, like we talked about Kylie Ray. Again, you watch her wrestle, like, oh man, I could see some more of this, right? Deonna Purrazzo. You watch her wrestle, like, damn, she's good. You know what I mean? Like I haven't gotten any feelings like that from watching Su Yung matches.
I guess I love her presentation, the music when she comes down. Like
I do like all that stuff.
And when she used to have the Undead's Bridesmaids and the Undead Maid of Honor, I liked all that COVID. A lot. What's that?
Who knew zombies could get COVID?
Yeah. Yep. It's done and gone. I actually saw the match live where she wrestled Saraya Knight on the Twitch show for Impact.
Oh, cool.
It was like the Knockouts, Rise of the Knockouts, whatever. That's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw that live, but I don't know. I like her. I just like the presentation and all that. I never thought she was going to get the title back personally.
Yeah.
I just didn't see it happening. So my girlfriend was real.
That's the thing, right? Because I didn't see. I don't know. There's just no wow factor to the character, man. Like again, I liked all the stuff they were doing, but it just. I don't know. I can't say that like there was a time when Rosemary to me had a wow factor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Su Yung at one point when they first brought her in and she was just beating people, she beat that beautiful Hanaya. I wish she was on TV more.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they brought her and she was just killing people, like it was much more intriguing then. But I mean, she does a good character. It's fine. It's fine, right? But like when you're on the same show with people who are outstanding, you know what I mean? Like again, look at Taya, right? Outstanding wrestler, outstanding look, outstanding character. Su Young, very good character. Fine.
My girlfriend was real mad that she don't give a shit about wrestling, but she likes the Susie stuff. So she was mad that Susie didn't win the title and that Su Yung did. I was like, I told her, I'm like, hey, Su Yung won the title. She's like, she didn't win it as Susie. I'm like, no. She's like, oh, I don't care. So, but
I think too with the Susie, I wish they would have given Susie more of like an edge. Like, not that she had to be better, but like when she was Susie, she had like no offense. She had like no offense. Like she couldn't wrestle. She was just like there. You know what I mean? Like she was like mentally incapacitated.
Well, they did a little better towards the end, where they would have her channel her inner Su Yung, and then she would bust the move.
Yes, when she would those moments where she would snap into Su Yung and be like, "Whoa!"
Yeah. What I would have liked to have seen with Susie is, I said the same thing about Broken Matt Hardy years ago, is that, and I'll even make a comparison to Cody when he was Stardust. He had a different moveset when he changed his character.
Yes, he did.
And that's what I wanted to see out of Matt Hardy. Like it was the same, the side effect, the running bulldog.
Yep.
So the character was outside of the ring, and in the ring, he was just Matt Hardy.
Right.
So I would have kind of liked to see Susie, instead of doing the palm strike and the panic switch. Like I would have liked to have seen actually if she just tried new things, just actually gave us a complete different style of wrestling. So I mean, neither here nor there. I don't know if they'll bring her back, but I like Sue as a champion. I can dig it. It'll be interesting to see how they create challengers for her when most of them are in tag teams and kind of doing that. So it'll be interesting. It'll just be interesting to see how they're kind of booking the division going forward.
Yeah, definitely. I think with Sue as a champion, like you said, is very interesting to see how they book it going forward. Very interested to see that.
So let's talk tag team division, since we talked about that not too long ago. So the North is the champions. I like the North. I think I don't like their music. And I feel like they put the title on them as hey, we're, Ethan Page contract coming up here soon. We got to throw the belt on him, because we definitely didn't think the North were winning the titles at Bound for Glory. We even said we thought Fulton and Ace were going to win it. The North, I think, was the last team we expected to win at the pay-per-view. They gave us the match with the Good Brothers, like first time match, and they just gave us a throwaway crap match. And now they have a couple one-on-ones. I don't even know who won. Yeah, Gallows won.
Yeah.
And then Anderson's fighting Josh next week. That should be a better match. And then at Turning Point, they're having another match, the two of them. So either the North is going to drop the titles right away, or the Good Brothers is going to be 0-1 for the titles, and we're just going to keep seeing them wrestle the North for a couple months. So do you like where the tag team division is going? Because it just feels like they just have their three teams. They're like, this is our money, and these guys are going to do Wrestle House, and they're going to fucking shoot Bravo, and they're going to do bullshit.
Yeah. So I think there's opportunity with the tag teams, right? Like you mentioned the guys who are just there and they're kind of filler right now, right? Like Triple XL and the Deaners and who is there? Oh, like and the Rascals, right? So there's some guys there who are just kind of there. And then again, they treat the Good Brothers like they're such a big deal. I'm not quite sure why yet. Like I know they have a name, but to me, I feel like they're still just kind of living off their New Japan reputation, and they haven't done anything in Impact yet that has really made me impressed, right? So like similar to when I watched at NXT, right? Everybody loved Adam Cole, baby. And I was like, yo, I don't get it, right? Like because I never watched Ring of Honor, like as we discussed earlier. I was never a Ring of Honor guy. So, again, like I said, I didn't get it. It's fun that everybody yells Adam Cole, baby, all at one time. But other than that, right, like I was like, I don't get what the big deal is, right? Like this guy looks like he wouldn't make your high school football team. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like why is everybody so excited about them? But oh God, so the Good Brothers. Yes. And so similarly, right? It's like with the Adam Cole, people liked him because they watched him in Ring of Honor, right? And they were just kind of carrying over their Ring of Honor fandom. And so, like, similarly, if you watched the Good Brothers in New Japan, then your fandom of them will carry over. You'll think they're so cool for their talking shop stories. I didn't watch none of that. So to me, all this stuff is just like, whatever. It feels like a joke that I guess I'm supposed to get, but I don't. And therefore it's not funny. And so I don't know, like I don't see the Good Brothers as such a big deal, but they're presented as a big deal. And so that's whatever to me. The North, listen, we're watching Ethan Page evolve right before our eyes. And I'm enjoying his work, man. I enjoy his vlogs. He's well documented the shape he's gotten himself in. Yeah. And when he slapped the taste out of Luke Gallows' mouth last week, man, that was one of my favorite moments in wrestling. I was telling you this before. It reminded me of the moment where I became a Seth Rollins fan, right? Like, I remember it was years ago when Seth Rollins had the Money in the Bank contract and they were doing something backstage with Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, and they were doing that usual stick. This is my beast, blah 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 blah. And Seth Rollins just kind of like stepped right in his face, and he was like nose to nose with Brock Lesnar. He was like, "I'm not scared of your beast," you know what I mean? And in my eyes, like in that moment, I was like, "Yo, this guy," and that's exactly what Ethan Page did. He looked Luke Gallows right in the eye, and he smacked, and he called him out. He's like, "I don't know why." Scott D'Amore is spending all the money on you guys, right? Which had to be a little, kind of veiled jab. He probably feels some type of way. He's like, you see new guys coming in getting paid. Meanwhile, us guys are right here. You're paying us next to nothing. And so when he said that and then reached out and slapped Luke Gallows in the face, I was like, man, I'm into this. You know what I mean? I'm into this. And so, yes, I like what's happening with Ethan Page right now. I'm not sure if what's happening with Ethan Page is going to allow him to continue to be on Impact Wrestling every week, but
right.
Liking what I'm seeing happen with Ethan Page. And by extension, the North, right? So there's that. And yeah, I mean, like, I like the fact that we don't know what we have in the Deaners and Triple XL and the Rascals. I mean, you got to put those guys in some situations to make them feel like a big deal, and they're not doing it yet. You know what I mean? The Rascals keep losing tag team title matches.
They keep losing in general.
Yes, and like, it's at some point, how do you take those guys as a serious threat? So, I don't know. I mean, I think the tag team division has potential, but you just got to, you got to make it feel like a big deal. And they're not doing that right now. They're not making the tag team division feel like a big deal. They're trying to make the Good Brothers feel like a big deal, and they don't feel like a big deal to me.
At one point they were having 4-team matches with like the Deaners and Triple XL and the Rascals and Reno Scum, and the winner would win and then do nothing. Like they didn't get a tag team title shot. They would tease, maybe they're next in line. Like they're not next in line. Speaking of Scott D'Amore, he was on the show this past week twice within the first 8.5 minutes of the show.
I noticed that. Ever since you pointed it out, I have not been able to unsee how much Scott D'Amore is putting himself over. And like, not only that, but like he's like outsmarting people.
Right.
He's like the GM, and he's not like a mean heel. He's not like a baby face pushover. He's like outsmarting people, and like I'm like, yo, dude, that's not the way this goes. I mean, listen, it's a different take on the authority figure.
Yeah, it is.
Right. So I give him credit for that. But I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, it's more I would say it's more realistic to what probably the boss wrestler relationship is like.
Right.
I used to, when I watched WWE, I used to always, they would have these general managers who were like feuding with one of the wrestlers.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why don't you just fire them if you have an issue with them?
Right.
So this is a different take on it.
I hate you so bad, Roman Reigns. I'm going to put you in the main event 3 pay-per-views in a row.
Yeah. You're going to go one-on-one with the Undertaker. Yeah. So it is a different spin on the authority figure, and it's, in a sense, there's more realism to it, but twice in the first 8.5 minutes, he was on the Talking Shop-A-Mania show that they did after, leading up to Bound for Glory. Like, his ass walked in there with his folded up piece of paper and all this shit. I'm just like, and the fucking
he's gonna have a t-shirt
like,
on Shop Impact.
Way, dude. Watch. What's that?
He's gonna have his own t-shirt on Shop Impact.
Yeah, definitely. But at the end of the segments, he always has a little zinger, a little one-liner, to where that's like the difference between I'm a character and I'm kind of trying to get myself over a little bit.
Right. Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally agree.
So I'm not willing to completely write off this yet, because maybe his inclusion on TV is leading towards something. Maybe they were just like, hey, dude, I think we need someone on the show instead of just saying Impact Management, which always sounded so dumb to me, because there was, well, who's Impact Management? So now we have Impact Management. Maybe they just thought, well, we need an authority figure, but we're getting them so damn much.
Right.
To where, the old like Raw GMs and all that shit, we'd see them for the first segment of the show, and for the most part not seeing the rest of the show, type of thing.
Right.
But yeah, with the tag division, man, what I've noticed, I was telling Lewis this yesterday, that the Good Brothers come out and Josh starts going, you can get their shirts on Shop Impact, and you can get the koozies, and you can do this and this, and they don't do that for anybody else. There's no like, say Eddie comes out with a shirt, they're not like, hey, that shirt's on Shop Impact. They don't promote shit. But these guys come out and they clearly were like, hey, please sign with us. We will promote anything and everything that you have. We will try to make you as much money as possible on the side.
Your shit.
What's that?
So that we will hawk your shit.
Yes.
As much of it as you have.
Right. So it comes off like, I don't know if I like where that direction is heading. I think we've seen Impact bring guys on before and be like, hey, we're gonna, I don't know the term I'm looking for, but you're gonna come here, we want you real bad, you do whatever you want. Right. And it gets to the point where the relationship isn't that good anymore.
Right.
And then they leave and they're stuck holding the purse.
Yep. And those people, they'll go somewhere and they'll never talk fondly of Impact ever.
Right.
Which is amazing, right? Because we hear so many stories about how, Vince treats people so badly at WWE, but people, but I guess because it's the place you can make the most money, people trip over themselves trying to get back there. Crazy.
Yeah, and then people always treat them like they're bitter, but then if someone talks about Impact poorly, they're like, yeah, everyone's cheering it on.
Right.
Really funny how that works, but it's just clear that they're just, hey, we're gonna push all your shit, like, and I mean, they even said that much. The Good Brothers were like, they're gonna let us promote our pay-per-views and this, like, they're just on they're, I'm a Clippers fan, and some of the drama that happened towards the end of the season was that the players were like, why are you guys treating Paul George like a freaking superstar? Like, he's an all-star, but why is he getting the red carpet?
Right.
Comes out playing like shit, and that was causing like dissension in the back. because he was getting favoritism that they felt was unearned. And I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see it trending. I shouldn't say trending because everything's, you know, kisses and roses right now, but history tells us that it's not going to go a good direction.
Right. And again, I think it's an easy thing. You can keep getting treated that way if you turn your presence into more eyeballs for Impact. And listen, from what I can see on social media, that's just not the case. You know, all of this, you know, supposed coolness they're supposed to have carried with them from New Japan has not translated into Impact pulling $200,000 viewers a week, you know?
Right.
So you know, I don't know. I don't know if we'll I guess it remains to be seen if they're worth what they cost.
Here's something interesting, man. They're I always talk about that I unsubscribed Impact's YouTube because I wasn't getting value out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I came across an article that said Impact's most viewed YouTube segment for October and least viewed for October. And the most viewed, I don't quite remember what it was. It's on the tip of my tongue, but it's irrelevant. The least viewed segment of the month was their recap of the Good Brothers versus the North. And you know, I kind of got into it with a couple people. What's that?
The most or the least?
The least.
Okay.
So I got into it with social media a little bit where I was like, we're really getting this match for free when we were getting it. And people, oh, it's going to create more buys for Bound for Glory if they give us this match for free. I'm like, no, I promise you it's not.
Yeah.
I promise you, I will bet. I know I put my testicles on the line quite a bit. I'll bet both my balls that match did not bring an extra Bound for Glory view just because we got it on TV like that.
Right.
Craziness to think that way. And if you're looking at those social numbers, people didn't care because they didn't give us a reason. I mean, we can talk about this all day and we kind of have at times. They gave us no reason to care about that feud whatsoever. Bound for Glory, that match of Bound for Glory. They said we got name value and that's it. And no one cared. So, you know, and I hate to say this, but because we saw this with Santana and Ortiz, they didn't get the right buzz until the right popularity, I should say, until they left Impact. And, you know, as a matter of fact, when Impact was like, hey, this is one of the best tag teams in the world, people, you know, on social media and Facebook, people do the laughing emoji and all that.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that, man, but the North is in that category right now that they are one of the best in the world. They tell us that every week. But there's a lot of wrestling fans out there who don't really know who the hell they are. Or they know Ethan Page, but don't really know Josh Alexander. And as a team, they're like the North. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the division's in a weird place to me.
Right. And listen, I think it all comes down to they got to do a better job promoting. They got to do it better. One thing that I think Impact does not do a good job of at all is creating the illusion that people are watching and enjoying their product. Like that's one thing that I remember even from a small kid watching WWE, they always created the illusion that people are watching and enjoying their product. When they were at their live events, they would interview people standing in line and they would ask them, what do you think about Shawn? What do you think about Brett? You know what I mean? What do you think about this guy? What do you think about that guy? And then they put those people on TV and you'd see people there, you know, saying, oh, you know, Shawn's a pretty boy and Brett's really tough. You know, like you would hear this and this stuff like translated, resonated with you. Like, you know,
NWA
was
doing that too.
Huh?
NWA did it too before they launched.
Yeah, and so again, but it sends the message to the people out there. This is an interactive, fan-friendly product, and like think about how many good crowd Impact has had in the past year. They've had those good crowds at St. Windsor College or whatever. They've they had a good crowd for Bound for Glory last year. They had a good crowd for Hard to Kill. Those are all great opportunities. The crowds for the Impact tapings were increasing. Those are all opportunities to get, videos of fans talking about how much they're loving and enjoying the product. That stuff you need to be like showing and spreading because it sends the message to the people watching that fans love this show. Like again, even when when they did have fans, the fans did not feel like a part of the show. And so Impact does not do a good job of sending the message out that this is something that is fun and enjoyable. They do not do that at all, and so and I think that adds to the promotion of the matches. Like, this is a big deal. Why is it a big deal? Because other people like it too. That's what it all comes down to.
Right. I've talked about this in the past. The social media is like, they're always very like, this card is stacked. And I've always said, let the fans build the buzz. Let them build the excitement. Get them talking. Let them do that promotion for you. But when you're sitting there, this is going to be, this and this, then you start over promising, and that hurts. That just like really simple marketing, like that hurts when you over promise. And I've talked about it before that there's some kind of disconnect with Impact and the live audience where, when you watch NWA, AEW, like you can tell the crowd is having a blast. And for some reason that environment is not at Impact. I don't know what it is. It's hard for me to say, but there's something.
I think in some ways you have to produce it. Like, in some ways it's natural. And in some ways you have to produce it. Like you can produce certain segments where you can prep the audience, right? You can really prep the audience for what they're going to see, what they're going to do. WWE does a great job of utilizing like their video boards, playing, they'll play the stuff. So you feel like you are, when you go to an episode of Monday Night Raw, you feel like you're inside your television watching Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, true.
You know what I'm saying? Because everything that happens on the screen, the same segments that are happening backstage, which you used to couldn't see as a fan, now you can see those like right there in the arena you're watching. So when they come out, when the two guys brawl backstage and then spill out onto the ramp, you're not like, wait, why is this happening? You know what I mean? Like, you saw the whole thing. You saw the conversation that happened in segment 1. You saw the bump in the hallway that happened in segment 3. And now you're seeing the brawl that's happening in segment 5, right? And so Impact, listen, they I've seen them do some of that, right? Like when I went to Bound for Glory at the Melrose Ballroom, they did utilize the big video board. They played the match where Rosemary ended up coming back out, and that was like one of the biggest pops of the night when Rosemary popped out of the casket.
Yeah.
And so they've used it in like some ways, but listen, some of it is about where you do your show. Like I would try to do my show in places where there's hot wrestling crowds, right? Places like Philly, places like Boston, places like New York, you know what I mean? Or if you're not going to be in, Manhattan, do it on like the outskirts of New York, the Westchesters of the world. Like there's different places you can do your show where there's hot wrestling fan bases. Like that's a big part of it too. Like I remember one year at the Royal Rumble, John Cena came out, the fans sang John Cena sucks to the beat of his song, and that stuck with him for the rest of his career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's monkey see, monkey do. You know what I mean? The fans see something happening and they just start doing it.
It's like singing Jericho's song.
Yep.
Start singing on the cruise.
Exactly. That's a perfect example. Perfect example. And so and again, listen, a big part of that is having something that connects with the crowd. I remember in like, God, what it had to be like? This had to be like 2010, maybe. I took my nephews to wrestling at the Harbor Yard Arena in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And we were doing the Let's Go Cena sucks organically. Like we were just going Cena sucks, and like in between those, just fit in perfectly. The little kids were going, let's go Cena. We're like Cena sucks. See, it was really organic. You know what I mean? And that comes from people. Oh, by the way, I met John Cena at the Planet Fitness in Bridgeport earlier that day. Oh, wow. It was actually very cool. But yeah, so it starts with having someone that the fans feel connected to enough that they want to cheer throughout their whole match. You know what I mean? That's a big part of it. So they have a long way to go. A lot of it is the overall feel of the product, but I think a lot of it can start with having a hot star that really knows how to work the crowd and get a reaction throughout the show.
Yeah, if you think about the yes chant, you think of Kurt, you suck with Kurt Angle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the fans feel part of the show.
Yeah.
And some of my I'll call them haters, for lack of a better term, give me a pretty hard time that I love the NWA so much. And it's mainly because a lot of what they do is what I've been preaching since the beginning of the Impact Lounge, that I wanted to see Impact do. Everything from what they do on screen to the YouTube channel, things like that. But the crowds are, the question mark, that dude walking around, and then and the way even they cut their promos and it's crowd interaction, like it just gets people involved. And Impact's missing that. There was one episode where they decided to start, because AEW used to do this. So this was back when AEW just started, and they would always have shots of the crowd, very personal shots of the crowd showing reactions. And you could tell Impact like 2 weeks later was like, okay, we're going to do that. So they started taking these random shots of the crowd,
mm-hmm.
and it would be someone just sitting on their hands. Like there's some like
right.
Couldn't
be looking less interested in the show.
Right.
Exactly.
And I'm like, why are they doing it? And then they cut it out after a couple episodes. But I don't know. I've gone to quite a few Impact shows and had a lot of fun there personally. But, I don't know. I've talked about that quite a bit over the years. Just
I've had fun at the Impact shows I've gone to too. I went to the one they did. I believe it was actually the first week of tapings for the Destination America era, at the smaller ballroom at the Manhattan Center in New York City.
Yeah,
it was the one that's upstairs. God, I think it's so high up, by the way. Like it's up mad flights. It's like 7 flights of stairs you gotta go up to get to that damn ballroom. But remember when Bobby Lashley won the title from Eric Young? That was in New York, but it was in the same building, but on the lower ballroom is a bigger ballroom. Okay. And it was very well lit. I really liked it. I really liked it. I'm sure it's more expensive to rent that place. That was the one where they did the Dudleys putting Dixie through the table.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That was in that room. Yeah. But the one that I went to was upstairs from there. They did, like I said, that was where they did like a Lethal Lockdown in there. Lashley was the champ. It was that episode where he gets into a fight with Bobby Roode on outside and the belt is like laying in the garbage. Like that was that episode. So I went to that one. It was a lot of fun. I remember they taped I think they taped 2 episodes, and I remember it was just a long taping, and I was really energetic for like the first episode, but by like hour 3, I was like, bro, I got nothing. I got nothing. and then I also went to the Bound for Glory, which was, again, I hated that. I hated that one. I didn't have the best experience because they oversold the bleachers. I was like cramped in there. I'm already a big dude. You know what I mean? It was not a fun experience for me. The show was good, but the environment like makes a difference. You know what I'm saying? So, but yes, like I've had a good time at Impact shows. They have a good product, man. They have a good product, but they could do better. They could do better with, using the lights and the music to get people more engaged. You know what I mean? Like all this, like think about it, like Su Yung, Moose, who else really incorporates like lighting into their entrance?
Right.
And like all that stuff matters. It's this whole experience. So they can do a lot better. You know what I mean? Like I believe they're working with like a paper thin staff, but but they can do better. If you want to, you got to spend money to make money. Create a show that people want to come out and see and enjoy.
Yeah, like they started darkening the arena and darkening the fans because they didn't want to to see people sitting on their hands, then don't create a product where people want to sit on their hands. Like, get them jumping out of their seat. So the lighting they would use for Windsor was really, really nice. They had like red lights on the crowd to match the color. Like, I was like, dude, this looks freaking amazing. And then you go somewhere else and it's right back to this really, really dark, dingy arena.
Which I hate it because it looks like there's nobody there.
Right. And it's funny, I we talk about my fandom of the Clippers all the time. When I was a kid, a kid, I remember I would watch the Lakers and the arena was really, really bright. And then the Clippers would play in the sports arena and it was super dark. And I was always like, I don't really want to watch this. It's funny that they're my favorite team now, but I just remember as a kid just thinking like, it looks so dingy in there. I don't want to watch that game. Same reason I don't watch the Brooklyn Nets, because their arena is just like so dark. Yeah. I'm just like, I feel depressed watching their games. So it's depressing, like how dark that the arena is.
Yeah.
And I talked about with Ring of Honor getting fatigued as a viewer. I think that happens with Impact in the sense that what you said, like, we don't know. And I know they're from being a live fan. I don't know what the stories are going on backstage or anything like that, because like you said, with Raw, you could see it all on the screen. Impact doesn't do that. I think it's because they're trying to knock out the taping as quick as possible. When they were in the Impact Zone, they needed to do it because they didn't want people leaving. It's different when you buy admission. So I think when you're there for a show, all you're watching is a bunch of wrestling, and that's like an indie show. Right. Where I'm just watching. Matt, I'm fatigued. I'm bored. Like, nothing's breaking it up.
Right.
So, I wanted to get into the X Division and world title scenes and everything, but I think this is a good point to cut it.
Yeah, we can pick up on those next week.
Yeah, we've gone pretty long here, just kind of rapping about Impact.
You know what I want to do? I want to get some love to the people who are actually watching the shows. So in the comments, drop where you're from, and we'll give you some shout outs next week.
Yeah, that works for me. We'll definitely do that. We'll get more involved and bring the people, get involved with you guys, just like we're talking Impact needs to do with the crowd. We'll do that here as well. Why not?
Yeah, we're gonna light the crowd.
Practice what we preach. Yeah. So if you're still hanging around right now, thank you for checking out the entire show from the Cool Factor, and we will be back next week to talk a little more Impact, and we'll see what other topics we have that we can wrap to you guys about. And that is it. So again, thank you for checking us out, and we will talk to you guys next week. Peace.